Good afternoon, my dear friends. This is Amit Bhattacharya, Professor of English, University of Gaurbanga, welcoming you to the second part of my discussion of Kamala Das's poem, Delhi 1984. We have actually the first part of my presentation, the discussion of this particular poem, we have discussed the text. We have also given you the background, the historical and political background to this poem, that it was the 31st October was the fateful day in India's history in 1984 because on this day, Indira Gandhi, the then Prime Minister of India, was gunned down by two of her own bodyguards, and because these bodyguards were from the Sikh community, and because this killing of Indira Gandhi was caused by a kind of a reprisal against Indira Gandhi for sanctioning the Operation Blue Star and the entry of Indian Army to the Golden Temple. So this actually led to a severe backlash against the Sikhs, which ultimately degenerated into an anti-Sikh riot. Now, this poem can be read from various perspectives. You know, Caroline Forche and Duncan Wu have talked about poetry of witness, and this poem can very easily be called a specimen of the poetry of witness because, you know, poetry of witness means that these are poems born out of experience of war, experience of imprisonment, torture, mass killing, oppression, atrocity, and all that. And you know, as such, poetry of witness are ethical and political acts against extremities. No? So, poets, like other human beings, they witness conflicts and upheavals, disturbances of all kinds. And because of their extraordinary sensitiveness and because they have been called the unacknowledged legislators of the world by Shelley, they cannot, in the long run, sit and look out. They have to write. They have to write. They have to give vent to their own indignation. And that is what Kamala Das does in this poem. Delhi 1984 is a spirited denunciation of a particular communal riot, but because Kamala Das is a poet par excellence, this specific instance of religious extremism in her hands has an added dimension of universalism. As a result, this is symptomatic of other religious extremist violence as well. Now, you see, this poem has also been called a poem of protest. We know when we protest, we want to change the state or condition. And poem of protest is a poem, any poem of protest tries to change the condition that prevails in a place or time. So Kamala Das's indignation with the religious extremism fanned by the power-hungry politicians and perpetrated through the mindless, irate mobs receives a trenchant criticism in this point. But at the same time, this poem can also be read from a new historicist perspective. We all know that whereas the old historicism, both historicism being a process that actually tries to connect history with, any work of art, and whereas the old historicism gives us a hierarchical system, new historicism seeks to give us a parallel system, whereby, whereas in old historicism, there was a text and there was its context. So history was given a background importance, but the foreground was always literature. But new historicist reading of literature places equal importance on both the text and its co-text, not its context, but co-text, be it a sociological account, a historical account from that particular period. Now, this poem, we are fortunate to have several historical and sociological accounts, and I have actually found out Ashish Banerjee's paper. I have taken this paper from Veena Das's edited volume, anthology of articles, Mirrors of Violence, Communities, Riots and Survivors in South Asia. And this paper is called Comparative Curfews, New Dimension of Religious Extremism in India, no? And we can actually read an excerpt from this particular paper, and the parallelism will be very clear. So I will take the help of one of my students who will read out the excerpt.
Yes, sir. However, the most successful act of communalization was the assassination of Mrs. Gandhi in November 1984.
Wait a bit. So the most serious act of communalization was the assassination of Indira Gandhi, because it took place in the 31st day of 1984. It led to the anti-Sikh riots in the month of November, especially. And you know how it was an act of communalization, because it polarized peaceful communities into Hindus and Sikhs, just like partition did. No? So, all of a sudden, next door neighbors were looked at with hostility, with suspicion. One was a Hindu, another was a Sikh. So this is how ethnocentrism as a supremacist discourse often works. Okay, go on.
Her assassination unleashed a massive reprisal against the Sikh population in Delhi. I was witness.
And this is what is there in this poem also. And Ashish Banerjee was an eyewitness.
I was witness to the lynching and burning of Sikhs on that day. Sikh Gurdwaras in Delhi went up in flames. Shops belonging to Sikhs were robbed and burnt, their homes looted. Some Congress leaders of Delhi are alleged to have incited riots which took their worst toll in the next days in poor and working class localities on the fringes of Delhi.
Okay,
Reported-
just one second. One second. You see, the next day, that means after 31st October. So 1st November was the fateful day, so far as this anti-Sikh riot was concerned. Okay, go on.
Six reported
Six reported
to first aid
center.
centers and dispensaries with massive sword injuries, burn wounds, and all manner of other serious injuries. This was not so much a Hindu-Sikh riot as an organized attack by Hindus on Sikhs to vent their pent-up anger. To the extent that Sikhs could resist, they did, and that might qualify these incidents to be called riots.
So you see, uh, both the poem and this account, that's on the metonymic plane, whereas Ashish Banerjee on the illustrative plane, they are telling the same thing. And because New Historicism believes in the textuality, in the narrativeness of history, so obviously the textuality links both the literary text and its co-text. Okay, so what Das has pointed out through this poem is the fact that ethnicity, of which race, caste, religion, color of skin, all these things form only constituent factors, often causes marginalization of one community, one individual by another community or by another individual on the basis of their physical features, their ethnic origin, their language, their religion, and so on and so forth. Be it apartheid in South Africa, segregation in America, or Hindu-Muslim riots in India, or Hindu-Sikh riot that has been talked about in this poem, for example. Das seems to suggest that equality and equity will never be able to spread their benign wings over India until and unless such factors as ethnicity, class, or gender are not stopped from dividing us into competing or conflicting groups. And quite a flurry of films were also made on this particular disturbance. You think about 47 to 84, or Amu, or 31st October, or Hawaii. All these films also, like Kamala Das's poem, represent the Hindu-Sikh riot of this particular time. Now, Kamala Das writes this poem and such other poems also, because she has also written the Colombo poems, like A Certain Defect in the Blood, Shoppers at Cornell's Colombo, and After July, and so on and so forth, that actually give us the same picture of mindless hate and fury unleashed by ethnocentrism, be it religion, be it racism, zealotism, casteism, and so on and so forth, on one community by another. So, this poem, in the final analysis, brings to the fore Kamala Das's egalitarian concerns and her trenchant criticism of all factors that causes division amongst the bipeds called man. Thank you for watching.